Why do 70% of critical thinkers ditch Disney Plus? Because they found something better. In today's economy, every dollar counts. So what's worth subscribing to? Let's compare Disney Plus and no Soundbites Allowed. With Disney Plus, you're shelling out $140 a year for virtue signaling shows targeting mythical modern audiences. Plus, a theater visit could cost you $40 or more. Ouch. Now imagine a platform where fresh perspectives, insightful interviews, and engaging discussions are at your fingertips. That's no Soundbites Allowed. And the best part? It's free with an option to support only if you choose. While Disney Plus ticks off virtue signal checkboxes, no Soundbites Allowed offers real talk and sharp analysis. Perfect for those who crave depth and clarity. Why break the bank for entertainment? Subscribe to No Soundbites Allowed and enjoy meaningful content without the hefty price tag. Oh, hey, everybody. Okay, give me 2 seconds here. All right, give me 2 seconds and I will explain. Yes, I am back. Yes, there's something else I wanted to say. Give me 2 seconds. I'm trying to fix. There we go. Okay, so this should be up now for everyone. Okay, there it is. It is up. I wanted to make sure that everyone could know something. I didn't talk about election irregularities, and this I think is a pretty big deal, and I think it's pretty important. So I wanted to come back. I wanted to make sure that I did in fact cover this with you guys. So I apologize that I ended the show earlier to take care of my puppy and didn't look through. And as I was putting in the links for the show, I realized there's that whole section I didn't deal with. And I mean, what's more important than talking about the 2024 election and the irregularities that are already cropping up? These are things that are going to absolutely affect the next election and who's going to be the president. And I think it's critical, absolutely critical, that we do in fact talk about that. So I had to come back to talk about that. I had to be back. Hang on. Had to come back and cover this. Okay? So I just typed that into the notes. So, by the way, let me know if you can hear me all right. My settings should not have changed. And of course, as always, just to let you know, I am Michael Voss, the political dragon here in the Bronx, New York. It's still September 22nd. It currently happens to be 8:02 at night. We had to come back from the live stream to finish up to make sure we covered all the important issues with you because we believe in free speech, because we want you to have the information, to talk about the information, to make the world better, both in the United States and everywhere else. So that's why we wanted to come back, just for people who didn't know. Now, what did I feel was important? If you may recall, it was 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the admission by, where is it? There it is. No, there. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the admission by the United States Attorney's Office, the DOJ, told the American people that illegal aliens voting in our elections is real. Something that we've heard from the mainstream media, we've heard from many Democrats. It doesn't happen. It doesn't exist. It's just Republicans trying to fear monger, and it never happens. We have laws, so it won't happen at all. And they're wrong. They have always been wrong about that. That's not true. Just because we have the law doesn't mean anything. We have laws about murder, and that still happens. We have laws about terrorism. That still happens. So to say that, we have a law, doesn't mean a damn thing if we're being honest about it. And most Democrats, most of those in the establishment government, whether Democrat or Republican, do not want you to think about this, because They want you to just comply, to vote and not think about it, to keep your head down, stay silent, and let it go. I don't believe in that. I believe you have agency in your life, not because of the color of your skin, your sex, your gender, your sexual preference. That has nothing to do with it. I think it because you're a human being and an American citizen in particular, you have agency in your life. So when you learn things, you make better choices. You make better decisions, whatever that may be for you. And in particular, when the DOJ came out and the news media really let this go, they did not want to talk about this 2 weeks ago, that we have proof, September 5th, that there was a Guatemalan woman by the name of Angelica Maria Francisco, who's 42, and she was voting in the 2020 and the 2022 election. In fact, I believe she was also in the 2018. That's right. Here it is. She was voting in 2016. She was voting in 2020. And we believe in 2022 as well. She's voting. It's an illegal alien. Now, at the time when we were talking about it 2 weeks ago, I mentioned to you that if even 1%, if just 1% of all the illegal aliens that came across through the open border system came into America and they went to the local DMV to get a driver's license, like in New York State, like in California. In New York, there's 200,000 illegal aliens alone. Let's go with that, all right? There's 8 million illegal aliens in the 3.5 years of the Biden-Harris administration. Let's assume that we're just going to go with 200,000 in New York, California, 400,000. Just looking at that, go and take just 10% of that number, 20,000 of them, go in and they decide, hey, they're going to try and get a driver's license. Well, in many states, like in Pennsylvania, in New York, in New Jersey, in California, if you are a legal alien, if you're a person, you get registered, you automatically are registered to vote. Now, that's another problem. See, what the DOJ found was this is a woman, she stole someone's social security number, she stole their identity, and was voting in our elections because she stole that. So that's the voter fraud there. But then we found out in Oregon last week, Oregon's DMV said they registered more than 300 illegal aliens to be able to vote, and they've been doing that since 2021. That means that some of these people may have voted in the 2022 midterm elections. They may have changed the outcome of who was a member of Congress for Oregon. And that these people, well, the 300 they caught could have voted in the 2024 election. But you know what? They caught them. Most of them. As we were talking about it last week, they think that there's even more of them. They know that it wasn't this mistake, this supposed error, that we don't even know how they found out about this. We don't know why they found out about this. We just know that suddenly, on September 14th, they said, well, yeah, by the way, there's 300, there's probably more illegal aliens. Guaranteed, there's more illegal aliens that got a driver's license and got registered to vote. And some of them might actually, in fact, vote. 1%. Let's say 1% of those illegal aliens that went for the driver's license actually go and vote. So you're talking about 2,000 at least. That's just in New York. Out of 200,000, there's going to be at least 2,000 that voted and haven't been caught because no one looked for them, because no one did an audit, because there are no audits being done. And if you look at the 8 million that came in, well, then you're talking about 80,000 votes. That's enough to change elections. Actually, it's 800,000 votes that could. And if you cut it in half, if you go to 1/4%, if 1/4% of the total number of illegal aliens that have come into America decided to get a driver's license, they were able to get it, they voted because they were automatically registered, they went and vote, that's 800,000 American votes by illegal aliens. That's enough to change the election in multiple states. 2, 3, 4. You're talking about Michigan and also in Pennsylvania, Ohio. Could all be changed by 800,000 votes. Hell, you could have just over a little over 200,000 votes, and you could change the election in Michigan, in Ohio, in Pennsylvania, and suddenly we have a brand new president. That's how many votes. That's how important this is. And we know that if it's happening in New York, and it's happening in Pennsylvania, and we know it's happening in California, and it's happening in Oregon. That's 4 states. 4 states. How many more? Doesn't take a lot to change an election. Well, while that news is being reported this week, we started hearing something very different. The Heritage Foundation had previously talked about this back on July 10th. They said that illegal aliens are still voting in our elections. In fact, they mentioned that the mainstream media, political left, have declared that illegal aliens can't vote because there's a law, and they won't break the law. I mean, they broke the law to enter into the United States without authorization or documentation, but they wouldn't break the law. Like we have seen illegal aliens attack police officers in New York State. We've seen them take over apartment complexes. That's in Colorado. We've seen them try and get on to commandeer school buses. That was in California, Southern California. It's not like they would continue to break the law. I don't know, sex slavery, drug gangs. They wouldn't do any of that. There's laws against all of that. And yet they do. Because if there's criminals there, they break the law. And you're telling me they won't vote just because there's a law? That doesn't work. It makes no sense when we think about this. And we have Heritage, and Heritage in particular also happened to find out that over in Virginia, more than 11,000 illegal aliens were listed on the voter rolls within the last decade. Think about that. 11,000 people voting, potentially voting, that could change an election. And none of them were removed because no one looked for it, because there aren't audits done after each election. And only when someone actually tells them to go and find this person, that's the only time they notice it. That's it. And Democrats don't care because, Democrats, they're winning. They win Virginia. They win a lot of these states. They want this. If they have an extra 10,000 votes in each state, well, gee, how much more likely are they to win in tight races like the one in 2020 between Donald Trump and Joe Biden, or the one in 2016 with Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump? Let's think about that. It doesn't take a lot. You only need 2 or 3 states, and you've changed the entire election. You just need Ohio and Pennsylvania, maybe Michigan, and you're done. That's it. The election has changed completely. 11,000. And again, I'm giving you the examples. We know it's happening in Oregon. We know it's happening in Virginia. We know it's happening in Alabama. What about this? That Newsweek came out on the 12th, and again, did not get a lot of attention. On the 12th, they mentioned that there was a man, 62-year-old man, and yes, he is an American, and he was voting in Florida and in Pennsylvania in 2020. He's been arrested, and he is being charged. He's being charged with voting fraud and double voting, but he voted in Pennsylvania and in Florida in 2020. Now, I don't care who he voted for. He could have voted for Donald Trump. He could have voted for Joe Biden. He could have voted for the blue, the cheese, the green moon cheese. It doesn't make a difference. The fact is, here's another example, and it took them 4 years for an American citizen who has a Social Security number that is actually real to be caught for voting in 2 different states at the same time for the same election. Think of how much harder it is for illegal aliens that are automatically being put into the voter rolls, that are automatically being allowed to vote. That should trouble a lot of people. That should be a matter of concern for a lot of people. because that means there's a potential for massive voter fraud. We're, again, only looking at 0.25% of the number of illegal aliens that have entered America. We're talking about roughly about 800,000. Let's even call it 80,000. Even if it were 80,000 out of a million, out of 8 million, just 80,000 votes is enough to change states. Any one particular state, you could change the election, and that could change who is the president. And I'm bringing this all up to point out that what was happening in Pennsylvania, one of the most critical states in 2024, it's a swing state. It has a huge, I think it's 22 electoral votes. Matter of fact, let me double check that. I want to make sure I get it right for you guys. All right. Where is it? Where is it? Where is it? You know, I can find everything except what I'm looking for. Of course. You find everything you want except when you're looking for it, right? Bear with me. Let me find out. Britannica. Let's go here. Pennsylvania, 19. I stand corrected. 19 electoral votes for Pennsylvania. Okay. That's huge. Especially when we have tight, close elections. And this guy was voting out of Montgomery County, Pennsylvania. This is going to be important to know where he was voting from. He got caught voting for Montgomery and in Broward County, which is in Florida. Well, we found out this week on September 20th, 2 days ago, Friday, the Republican National Committee came out and said, hey, Pennsylvania, a county in Pennsylvania, is putting out illegal ballots, mail-in ballots to voters. Now, this is important because, again, Pennsylvania is a swing state. We know Pennsylvania's had a lot of illegal aliens. We know that illegal aliens get registered in Pennsylvania, and that has happened by accident, as well as there are some illegal aliens that are stealing people's identities and voting in elections. Doesn't have to be a lot. It just has to be enough. Now, what the RNC said, and I don't usually quote Republicans. I usually go to the left to find this, but this is the democracy docket. I'm going to the left to find out answers from the right. The Republican National Committee alleged that Montgomery County did not do their job. See, their Board of Elections are supposed to make sure that the mail-in ballots have been approved, that they have been tested and approved before they get mailed out to anyone. They didn't do it. See, the first day, on September 16th was the first day that in Pennsylvania they authorized who's actually going to show up on the ballot. So before September 16th, there was no way to know. The Board of Elections for the state of Pennsylvania didn't know who was going to be on it. Would it be Kamala Harris? Would it be Donald Trump? Would RFK show up on there or not? Would it be Dr. Cornel West or Dr. Jill Stein? Would they be on the ballot, yes or no? We didn't know until September 16th. Well, within 24 hours, the county, Montgomery County in Pennsylvania, not only did they have printed ballots, mail-in ballots available, they sent them out to everyone in the public. They mailed them out. Now, you have to ask yourself, and here's a very important question to ask about this. So, in Montgomery County, within 24 hours, they found out who was going to be on the ballot officially. They went out and printed thousands of mail-in ballots, and they mailed them out, all within 24 hours. That's impossible. It's impossible. By the way, you know what I didn't mention in that? That they tested that the ballots matched the state requirements. It's called a logic and accuracy test to make sure the ballot looks right, that it has everything that it needs to be official and count. They didn't do that test. They just instead printed all the mail-in ballots and mailed them out in envelopes with everyone's address. They did that all within 24 hours. Does that sound right? Let me ask you, do you think wherever you work, do you think your job within 24 hours could be given a list of over 10,000 individuals that they would be able to print up mailing labels and a document, let's call it a ballot, print that up, brand new, print it all out, pack it all, and then ship it all within 24 hours? I can tell you almost no company in the world would be able to do that in 24 hours. The United States government couldn't do that in 24 hours. That is damn near impossible. So in other words, they already guessed. The only way they could do this is they had to guess what was going to happen. And they had to print it ahead of time and hope that nothing changed. And then mail it as soon as possible. That's how they would get it out on day 1, the 17th, one day after it was approved. But that means it couldn't be tested. It means they couldn't do the test because you could only do the test on the final approved version. So since they didn't know what the approved version would be, they couldn't test for that approved version. So they sent out, and this is according to the court claim by Republicans, since they couldn't possibly know that ahead of time, they sent out an illegal ballot. And in that ballot, it may be going to individuals who have stolen someone's identity. It may be going out to illegal aliens. But even if it went just to United States citizens, it might be just like that one guy in Florida, Mr. Pulley, and I'll show you again, Mr. Pulley, as reported by Newsweek, Mr. Pulley, who was living in 2 different states, or technically was voting in 2 different states. He's from Montgomery County. So this is a county that seems to have a history of errors, a history of deception, duplicity, you might even say, in the election process, at least allegedly. It seems to be that way. Now, the commissioner, Neil Makija, I think that's how you pronounce his name, Commissioner Neil Makija, put out this on Twitter on September 20th, 3 days after he mailed out all of the ballots, after he himself had already voted. This is what he had to say. Voting has begun in Pennsylvania, and so has the RNC's first line of attack on voting rights. He's saying it's an attack on voting rights, that asking for verification for following Pennsylvania law is a violation of your rights. I don't understand how that's the case, but okay. He goes on to say, here in Montgomery County, a county that had someone double voting, they're threatening us under spurious legal grounds. It's spurious. It's a joke. It isn't real to say that people should follow the law, test the election documents that are being sent out, not guess at it, but actually do the test on time like everyone else. That's just a joke. How dare you? How dare you expect them, these Democrats, this commissioner, to follow the law? He goes on to say, to breed distrust in voting systems. No, just trust the Democrats. Just trust him. He said it's good. Don't worry about it. I mean, it's not like the DOJ found people who are illegally voting in our elections, Guatemalans who are voting in our elections since 2016. It's not like Oregon didn't admit that they've been registering people to vote in our elections since 2021 in the hundreds, and they expect that number to grow substantially because they just figured it out 4 years later. Yeah, it's not like these things aren't happening. There's absolutely no reason why you should distrust the voting system. And this is the confirmed facts. I'm not even going into the court cases that have happened in 2020. I'm not even talking about any of the conspiracy theories or we should call them just theories people have, the distrust people have from going to sleep at night with the numbers being one thing, waking up an hour later, and all of a sudden you have a brand new set of numbers, mystery votes just appearing. No, I don't even want to go there. I'm just saying he wants you to just trust the system, trust him, because he said it's okay. And he goes on to say, calling our ballot illegal without any legitimate basis, besides the fact that it wasn't tested with the approved wording, the approval from the state, because that's physically impossible to do. He could not physically do it in the time frame that was allowed by law. So he's saying, oh no, that's not, it's illegit. You can't say that. It's completely legitimate that we guessed, that he made an educated guess and wasted the public's money on his guess and sent out the votes on his guess because it wasn't tested. It wasn't legal. It wasn't official. That's what the testing is saying. He goes, we test our machines. We have to take your word on that. Voting here is safe. Not necessarily. Just a week earlier, we found out not so much. He goes, safe and secure. Well, there was a guy from Montgomery County that was voting in 2 different states. So I don't know how safe and secure they are, because if it happened once, it's happened more than once. It may not have happened 100,000 times, but did it happen 1,000 times? Even 100? How many local and state and potentially federal votes did that affect? That's a very real and very important question to ask, because it isn't safe and secure. We know that because Newsweek is telling us just a week earlier it's not safe and secure, that there is a problem, specifically in Montgomery County in Pennsylvania. So the commissioner is wrong. And he goes, there's no level of intimidation will prevent. No one's intimidating. Everyone's saying follow the law. The RNC said follow the law. We want to be able to trust this. We want to have confidence in our election. The difference between some of the elections in other parts of the world, in third world nations, and the United States is we actually trust our elections because it's relatively transparent. And he's taking away that transparency. He's introducing things that make us question it. Now, he makes this statement because on September 19th, 2 days after he mailed out the ballots, 3 days after the state of Pennsylvania told him what was officially available to do, Jack Posobiec says, why are you sending out illegal mail-in ballots? Because that's something you would actually conclude. Now, to be fair, I wanted to go back, and I'm checking it now live with you, because during the show I didn't get a chance to double check, but I wanted to make sure I covered this. If you go to Commissioner Neil Makhija, I think that's how you pronounce his name, I'm not sure, but Makhija, if you look at it, he hasn't posted anything since. Well, that's not correct. He posted one other thing. Apply for a mail-in ballot. He reposted on the same day, September 20th, and said, hey, you're registered. Go ahead, mail in a ballot. Go start mailing in your ballots now. Go vote now. Generally, okay, I'm fine with that. But here's the thing I don't understand. Here he is, and he hasn't said another word about this. He hasn't said anything else. Now, mind you, he is a Democratic partisan. He has many other quotes, and people have brought them up. He has various tweets that he has said, which are very, very partisan. But let's just go with what this. Why hasn't he responded? You see, we have a very logical argument that's here. You couldn't print that within 24 hours. You couldn't print and mail that and test it within 24 hours. It's not humanly possible. I hadn't checked before, but let's check. Number of registered voters in Montgomery, PA. Let's see. Pennsylvania voting. Bucks County voter. Here we go. Does it tell me how many? No. Okay, let's go and try and find this. How many registered voters in Montgomery? I'm trying to find this for you, folks. Registered by county. Voter lookup. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm seeing everything except the number I want. I don't have it. Okay, well, let's go with how many people? It's live, folks, so I'm just trying to figure it out as we go myself. So I don't have exact answers for you here. But there are how many people? 800,000. So as of 2022, Montgomery County has over 864,000 people. Let's assume half of them vote. 400,000. Doing quick math, inaccurate, not saying that it's accurate at all. So there's about 400,000 people who vote. So he sent out, so this commissioner printed up 400,000 ballots in 24 hours. He had to print them, pack them, and mail them. And I guarantee you, he doesn't have 400,000 employees. So he has, let's say he has 100 employees, which is nowhere near the correct number. It's not even close. He's got 800,000 people in the state. He probably has 10 employees at most. But let's assume that he has 100. That means each one of them would have to do something like 4,000 ballots that they would have to assemble and mail out each within a day in 24 hours. That's not realistic. Something sounds wrong. Something sounds very, very broken here. Which may be why Commissioner Neil Makaiji isn't answering. He's not responding anymore. He stopped talking. There's a problem here. There's a major problem here. And that problem, this is a swing state. We were covering that earlier in the live stream. And we were talking about the voting. And we were going through the battleground states. And Pennsylvania is plus 0.7 for Harris. I mean, if we're looking at what's happening, and it recently just switched over. It was a strong Democrat, but now suddenly it's a very contested state. It was decent. It was about 1 point in favor of Donald Trump. Now it's barely a point in favor of Kamala Harris. So this is an important state. And again, that's 19 electoral votes. That could make the difference. That could win the election. And this guy's joking. That could be the difference in Montgomery County, the third largest county in Pennsylvania, could make the difference. It could be the thing that decides this election. And Pennsylvania has been very close in the past. Let's see. Donald Trump lost to Biden by 1.2. In 2016, Donald Trump beat Hillary Clinton by 0.7. We're talking about a roughly 1 point difference is Pennsylvania. It can go either way. 800,000 votes, 400,000 votes could swing the entire state. This is a big deal. And the mainstream media isn't talking about this. This was news September 17th, September 19th, September 20th. This is being news this week. Where is MSNBC? Where's CBS? Where is all of the mainstream news media? Why aren't they talking about this? Well, how about this? Let's look this up. And I did this earlier. I thought I had done it earlier. Let's do a search. All right, I'm going to do a search. And again, I'm doing this live with you guys. So I want to search for... Oh, what was I going to search for? Let's see. We know how close the race is. We know who's in this. I'm just trying to see a way how I can show you what I'm thinking. Because we know there's a problem. We know there's a problem in Montgomery County. We know that this sounds fishy as hell. I just have a big problem. I don't know. Let me ask you who are watching this. Hopefully you'll share this. I hope you will like, share, and subscribe. I hope you will engage in this in your homes amongst your friends. If you know people in Pennsylvania, that you will engage with them and ask them this question. Does this sound right? Does something sound wrong? Given the fact that we know that the DOJ has already admitted illegal aliens are stealing people's identities and they are voting. And they're not voting Republican. Republicans want to kick them out the country. Republicans want to arrest them. Republicans want to take away all the things these illegal aliens are getting. They're not voting for Republicans. They're voting Democrat. The people who believe in open borders so they can invite their friends and their family. The Democrats are the ones that are giving them $60,000 a year to live in a 3- and 4-star hotel, paid all by the taxpayers, paid by you. They're not voting Republican or conservative. They're voting Democrat because it's in their best interest, just like this woman did in Guatemala. We know for a fact that in Oregon, there are more than 300, many more than 300 illegal aliens since 2021. Since the Biden-Harris administration took over, they have been registering illegal aliens to vote. And some of them have, in fact, voted. And as we find more of them have been registered, we will find more that have voted illegally. And that could change elections. I have seen elections in the New York 22nd District that have come down to less than 100 votes. Literally, for members of Congress to be voted in or out. It has been down to a dozen people at one point, the difference between the Democrat and the Republican and who is going to be going into Congress. So this makes a difference. This is affecting who's going into Congress, who's going to represent you, the laws that they then get to go and introduce, the laws that they get to then vote on. It absolutely affects your life. And we know that Oregon has a problem. We know that we have seen a problem in Alabama. We know that in Virginia, as one example, that 11,000 illegal aliens were registered to vote over the last decade. We know that it's happened. At least 616 known illegal aliens were in New Jersey. And I know the numbers may not always sound astoundingly large. They don't need to be. Let me remind you that, again, I have watched, and you can look this up, in the New York 22nd District to decide who's going to be going to Congress to be able to introduce bills and who's going to be able to vote on bills that will affect your life were decided by less than 100 votes. If 616 known illegal aliens in New Jersey, in that same example, we're voting in a tight congressional race, that's enough to change who wins. 11,000 illegal aliens registered in Virginia could change the state election and change who gets the state's electoral votes, which means it could change who wins. I know that Democrats are telling you it doesn't happen, but yet we keep getting these examples. Another one in Pennsylvania, again in Montgomery County, where Mr. Pulley, Philip Pulley, 62 years of age, has been arrested for falsely registering to vote, double voting, and election fraud. We are seeing example after example of it actually happening. What we have been told can't happen, and yet we have examples that it has happened. We have people who are arrested and facing penalty because it did happen. And what are you supposed to think now? Now that we know, now that you know this is real, that it is happening, and here it is 3 weeks in a row, as we get closer to this election, we have found 3 separate ways from the federal government, from states, and from various states across America, we are finding out more and more that there are illegal aliens that are voting, that there are discrepancies in our system that aren't being caught because no one is doing audits, and we have election officials that are acting in a manner that should be questioned, and they don't want, they blame you. Commissioner Makhaija is questioning you for daring to say something doesn't sound right. It doesn't sound like you did your job. It sounds like you were cutting corners. It sounds like you were being very partisan. And he's proud of himself. He's absolutely proud of himself because he has photos of him. You know, here he is on September 17th. I officially cast the first ballot. How could you do that? September 16th was the first day that they approved who would be on the ballot. How did you print the ballot? How did you test the ballots, print the ballots, and then have a ballot in your hand so that you can vote? How could you do that in less than 24 hours? That doesn't make any sense. But he's proud of himself. I officially cast my ballot. Is that a legitimate ballot? Has it been tested? Because, and that's the other thing I find incredibly odd about this. If this commissioner and the Democrats wanted to shut down the RNC, if they wanted to remove the question of doubt in 800,000 minds in Montgomery County and all of Pennsylvania and the rest of the United States, if they wanted to just assure everyone this is absolutely no problem whatsoever, just show us that it was tested. The very thing that the RNC lawsuit is about, just show us that it passed the logic and accuracy testing. That's it. It's that simple. He could silence all the Republicans and end the court case in 10 seconds. Show the proof. That's it. Bring the receipts. Bring the receipts. Said, I passed it. The test. We did it. Within 24 hours after it was approved, within 24 hours, we tested it. It's actually legit. Then we printed up every single one of the 400,000 mail-in ballots. We mailed out the 400,000 ballots. We packed it up and mailed it out, all of it within 24 hours. Here's the receipt. Here's the proof. That's all he needs to do. Show the proof. But he's not. He hasn't said a word. Instead, he said, trust me, bro. Why in the hell should we trust him? Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I misunderstand this completely. Maybe he's just really bad at typing out what he wants you to understand. Maybe he has a team that is absolutely brilliant and they could predict the future, and obviously they're not allowed to go out and buy any of the lottos. Otherwise, they'd get that, because he has the best team of political witches in the universe, and they knew exactly what was going to be in the official ballot. They guessed it all ahead of time, and they approved it ahead of time. Possibly. That would be illegal, As I understand it, that would be illegal, but maybe they guessed. Maybe they made the prediction. Maybe they printed it up all on a gamble that there wouldn't be any changes. It's possible. Show us the receipts. Show us the receipts. At least then you have something to stand on. But instead, his answer is, trust me, bro, you're just being a Republican. You're just not complying. You're just being one of those belligerent people who want to use the First Amendment to question what our elected officials are doing, because we think you might just abuse the power if we don't question you. You might just be a little too partisan for our own good. I don't know. Maybe it's me. Maybe I think it's important. And I do. I think this is an important issue. And I understand it's late. I got my the main live stream. We did that for a couple of hours, and I forgot to do this while everyone was watching. But I wanted to come back. I wanted to cover this because I think it is important. Because I think election integrity is important. I think people have to trust our elections. And for us to trust the election process, it has to be transparent. And we have to make sure that we get these audits so that we don't have to wait 4 years or 8 years before someone who is abusing the system, who is illegally voting, that they get caught not 8 years after the fact, not 4 years after the fact, that they get stopped before they even get to do it. I think that's important. And I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. There's always going to be a couple of people who slip through. That's true of everything in life. There's always an exception to any rule you have. I'm not saying I want a perfect system, but I want a transparent system. I want a system that I can trust 9 out of 10 times, that I can have a 90, 95, almost 100% confidence in. I don't have that right now. I don't have that in the mail-in ballot system in Montgomery, which makes me then say, since it's the 3rd largest county in Pennsylvania, I don't have confidence in Pennsylvania's process. I don't have confidence now in the results in Pennsylvania. It has nothing to do with Donald Trump. It has nothing to do with Kamala Harris. It has nothing to do with Senator John Fetterman. It has nothing to do with Tim Walz or J.D. Vance. It's got nothing to do with any of them. It has to do with what Pennsylvania is doing. It has to do with what Montgomery County is doing. It has to do with Commissioner Neil Makija, who is a public official. That is the source of my lack of confidence. Because his actions and his let it go, bro, is a problem. His, oh, you're just being a Republican, that's a problem. That tells me you're hiding something. That's how I take that. It's you deflecting from the issue at hand, that you didn't do your job and you didn't do it right. And that there might be a bigger problem behind it. And I know that in your county, there have already been problems. That this guy, I'm not sure, whichever commissioner in Pennsylvania, you didn't catch the fact that Pulley broke the law in your county in the past, in 2020. So I don't have confidence in you getting it right in 2024. Doesn't that make sense? I know most people don't know that Montgomery County was part of the problem of double voting in 2020. So they don't connect that to 2024. But now you do. And that means we don't give them the shadow of doubt because they didn't get it right the first time. You got it wrong in 2020. And it doesn't matter if Pulley voted for, he could have been a Republican, he could have been a libertarian, a conservative, he could have been socialist for all I know. I don't care. He double voted. He got caught. That's what we know. And he wasn't caught day one. It took 4 years before he could get caught. And it wasn't Montgomery County that caught him. That's the problem. That's the issue. I don't trust them. And we have seen too many times now where the news media will tell you, oh, that's not real. And 2 years later, 6 months, 2 years later, somewhere in that time frame, we suddenly hear them go, oh, by the way, that's real. Oh, that was actually the truth. We told you it was a lie at the time. We told you it wasn't real at the time, but we were wrong. Or they knew they were wrong and just didn't care, and they told you a lie. As much as you hear Tim Walz say, oh, there's misinformation. What about the misinformation coming from the government itself? What about the misinformation that is coming from elected officials themselves? Where's that concern? What about the misinformation that is promoted and allowed to exist by the mainstream news media because they're trying to push an approved message, a partisan message that matches their political ideologies, their political preferences? What about that? And I know they always like to say, it's on the right, it's on the right. These are all the left that are doing it. These are Democrats that are doing it over and over again. You're not seeing that from Republicans. You're not seeing that in Republican states. You're seeing this in the left. I'm not saying it can't happen with Republicans, but I am telling you it has happened on the Democrat side. And we keep getting evidence of it happening on the Democrat side. So, yeah, I'm going to look more heavily at the Democrat side because Republicans are the ones saying, bring an ID, prove you're an American citizen so that you can vote. I'm not hearing that from Democrats. Republicans are saying, close the border, don't let illegal aliens get driver's licenses or any other form of ID, don't register them to vote. That's what I'm hearing from Republicans. Democrats are going, no, you've got to let them go. In fact, there was a vote this week in the House of Representatives where every single Democrat refused to make it a law that you must be an American citizen and show ID proof that you're an American citizen to vote in elections. They want illegal aliens to vote. That's the only thing I can come up with. All but 5, to be fair, all but 5 Democrats absolutely, they voted in line and said, nope, we do not want to require ID or any other proof for someone to vote in the American elections. You don't have to, I can prove this. What is it? HR. There it is. Here it is. Let me show it to you. It's HR 8281 called the SAVE Act. This was introduced into the House by Chip Roy, Chip Roy, out of Texas 21st District. It was introduced on May 23rd. We just got a vote on that. That was on July 10th. Here's the results. The results of the vote to protect our elections, to make sure that everyone is an American citizen, that they prove they're an American citizen to be able to vote. 5 Democrats voted for it. 198 Democrats voted against it. They didn't say present, they didn't say iffy, they said no. They voted to make sure that illegal aliens could vote in our elections. When I see that, when I see the proof that Democrats, and Democrats alone, no Republicans, none of the independents, just Democrats, voted to make sure that illegal aliens could vote in U.S. elections. That's the only reason why to vote no. Is to let illegal aliens like the one from Guatemala, like the ones in Oregon, like many others, that potentially 11,000 in Virginia, potentially 616 in New Jersey, and God knows how many in New York State and in California, because they won't do audits. How many tens of thousands are voting that Democrats want to vote in our elections, to change the results, results by voting and not voting legally. And he's upset. He's laughing at us and saying, oh, well, you're being an ist and a phobe. You're being a Republican. How dare you question the government? Hell yes, I question the government. You're screwed up in Montgomery County. You got a problem, dude. You got a big problem. And you deserve to be questioned. So I wanted to address that because I didn't get to address that during the main show. And I apologize to everyone that I didn't get that the first time through. One final thing I wanted to end with, which I thought was pretty damn funny. And I want to share it with you guys because I think it's ridiculous. You may or may not have heard about this. This comes out of Sky News, out of Australia. And what they're doing is they're just covering the fact that Gavin Newsom, there it is. Gavin Newsom said, does it start there? I think it does. Come on. Let me show you.
Old skin versus young
I
skin.
hate this. Come on.
The kids on TikTok.
I hate ads. So, Sky News was reporting that Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, said it is illegal to have parody ads, parody political ads in an election year. It's a crime now in California. Which is ridiculous. That means you don't have the First Amendment. You don't have the right to free speech. You can't make a joke of what's going on. So this is the response. Now, I want you to see. Where is it? He said, Gavin Newsom signed into law to eliminate deepfakes and other AI-generated content, including parodies, political parodies, in an election year. And this is in the lead up to the election. And there is a big parody about Kamala Harris. Here it is. So, I want you to see this because I thought this was just damn funny. And I don't know if anyone's seen this before, but I think you'll love this.
Media.
I, Kamala Harris, am your Democrat candidate for president because Joe Biden finally exposed his senility at the debate. Thanks, Joe. I was selected because I am the ultimate diversity hire. I'm both a woman and a person of color. So if you criticize anything I say, you're both sexist and racist. I may not know the first thing about running the country, but remember, that's a good thing if you're a deep state puppet. I had 4 years under the tutelage of the ultimate deep state puppet, a wonderful mentor, Joe Biden. Joe taught me rule number 1, carefully hide your total incompetence. I take insignificant things and I discuss them as if they're significant. And I believe that exploring the significance of the insignificant is in itself significant.
Talking about the significance of the passage of time, right? The significance of the passage of time. So when you think about it, there is great significance to the passage of time, and there is such great significance to the passage of time.
Another trick is trying to sound black. I pretend to celebrate Kwanzaa, and in my speeches, I always do my best Barack Obama impression.
So hear me when I say, I know Donald Trump's type.
And okay, look, maybe my work addressing the root causes of the border crisis were catastrophic, but my knowledge of international politics is truly shocking.
The United States shares a very important relationship, which is an alliance with the Republic of North Korea. It is an alliance that is strong and enduring.
And just remember, when voting this November, it is important to see what can be unburdened by what has been. And by what has been, I mean Joe Biden.
I thought that was brilliant. That was a wonderful fake video. It was a political parody. It's funny because it's true, because it's accurate, because it's showing you the evidence of how abysmal Kamala Harris is. And also the duplicity that she has employed when she's talking to ABC News in an interview, when she's talking to CNN in an interview with Tim Walz, when she's talking to Oprah, that it's just laying her bare all of the fallacies and illogic that she has brought to the selection, and the fact that she would never have made it because she never did in the past. She never made it through a primary. Last time she tried in 2019, she went bankrupt. And her campaign completely failed. Democrats rejected Kamala Harris almost universally. She's not a good candidate, no matter how much they try and pump her up today, because they have no choice. They have no one else to lean on. Joe Biden is a zombie, and they know it. They've always known it. They just didn't tell you about it. So this parody is perfect. I think it's fantastic.
Do you think the country went to over the past 4 years?
The law signed by Newsom makes it illegal to create and distribute AI manipulated.
So Gavin Newsom said, no, it's all completely illegal. You can't do that. How dare you do that? So the answer to Gavin Newsom was another parody by the Babylon Bee. The Babylon Bee decided, hey, if Gavin Newsom is going to make it illegal to have the First Amendment, to tell a joke, to laugh about politics and bad politicians, well then, let's see him take this on.
Legislation aims to preserve election integrity and prevent AI from spreading disinformation. Newsom said, I just signed a bill to make this illegal in the state of California. You can no longer knowingly distribute an ad or other election communications that contain materially deceptive content, including deepfakes.
Which means you cannot have a joke anymore. Well, Elon Musk decided that's not going to happen. So where is it? It starts here. So the response to Gavin Newsom, which I think this is the best. I'm probably going to try and use this for my screenshot. This is a fantastic one. So the answer to Gavin Newsom came from Elon Musk and from the Babylon Bee. And this is what they put forward.
Parody ad campaign.
Hi, I'm Gavin Newsom, the governor of California. This is a message for the people of America, given in my authentically recorded, non-AI voice. Thanks to my leadership over the last several years, California has become a world leader in extremist, left-wing governance. My policies were so effective that almost 1 million people are now fleeing the state every year. We even ran out of U-Hauls. During the COVID pandemic, I locked everyone in their homes and shut down businesses for months. Not the French Laundry, though. That's my favorite restaurant. Last year, I cleaned up the dangerous, messy streets of San Francisco, because Chinese Communist President Xi was coming, and I really wanted to impress him. He's my boss, after all. This year, I signed legislation that allows me to take custody of your kid if you refuse to give him artificial hormones and chop off his genitals. Because if you don't do that, you're a bigot. And bigots shouldn't be allowed to have kids. I've also led the way in green energy by banning all cars that don't run on electricity. Then I banned almost all the electricity. This is smart leadership. On my watch, the cost of living and homelessness have skyrocketed. Schools are failing. Drug dealers and human traffickers are pouring across the border. And poop has covered the sidewalks of San Francisco. This is the positive, joyful vision we offer as Democrats. That's why I'm enthusiastically endorsing Kamala Harris for president in 2024. She'll do to the country everything I did in California. Anyway, I'm California Governor Gavin Newsom, and I approve this 100% real message, which is a recording of my voice without the assistance of any AI whatsoever. This isn't a deep fake, and you can rest assured that it isn't, because I just signed an unconstitutional law outlawing deep fakes. No one would dare violate it. Thank you, and science bless America.
Okay, so I thought that was brilliant. Okay, I thought that was a brilliant response to the absolutely unconstitutional violation of the First Amendment by Gavin Newsom. He will lose in court. You cannot tell people that they cannot express themselves, especially as a joke, a parody, whether it's politics or anything else. He doesn't have to like it. In fact, that's what the First Amendment is there for. You don't like it, that's why the First Amendment protects it. It's not just to protect whatever the professors at Harvard or at Columbia think. It's to protect everyone else, because you guys don't get to make the choices. And Gavin Newsom can go screw himself. Thank you to the Babylon Bee for making that. And I love the Kamala Harris deepfake parody video. that was funny too, because in both cases, the humor comes from where all humor comes from. The root of it is the truth, and you could see it for yourself. But I thought that was also worthwhile. I didn't get a chance to cover this in the original live stream today. I wish I had taken an extra hour, but my puppy, 13 years old, was very upset. He wasn't feeling well. I also have not been feeling well today. I got a migraine, but I decided I'd come back. I wanted to cover that. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you found it interesting and innovative and useful. If you did, please give it a like, a share, subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Your support makes all the difference in the world for me, because this is getting suppressed. Gavin Newsom's going to make sure that this segment gets suppressed. We're going to see Pennsylvania. They're going to try and suppress this. Democrats do not want to have this segment. They don't want you to hear any of this or anything else we discussed earlier in the day. So your support makes all the difference. And if you can, I know we're in a recession. We've been in a recession since August of 2022. I know there is a global food crisis and 30% less food today than in 2019, and that will continue into 2025, no matter who is elected. I get it. But if you have an extra $1.50 a month, less than a cup of coffee, and you say, hey, what could I do with that? You could go to try and give it to Disney to watch the Marvels or Echo or Agatha. Or, you know what you can do? You can join my Patreon for $1.50, and that makes a real difference in my life. I hope that you'll support. You don't have to do that with the Patreon, but I hope you support. Just give us a like, a share, and subscribe. With that said, I thank everyone for hanging out with me later on a Sunday night. You can go back and watch the Sunday night football game, the last game. I hope your team won, and I'll talk to you guys again very, very soon. Thank you, everyone.